But the truth is never going to change.
Human morality.
Human morality.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It will just change with the wind.
Yeah.
But morality that we're talking about is what comes from God.
That's right.
Well, it really goes to what you're basing your morality on.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you're basing it on popular opinion, then yeah, that's going to change.
Yeah.
But if you're basing it on God,
Yeah.
God standard of truth is, then your
Yeah.
morality is based off that, then no, it's not going to.
And we hear that all the
change.
time in our society today. We say, well, the majority of the people uphold this.
Right.
So that must be, that may be the law,
Right.
but it doesn't mean that it's moral in God's sight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know you all feel the same way I do about this. We're all about trying to persuade people to accept God's standard as
Yeah.
the standard of morality.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what we're trying to
Yeah.
do. But I never go around telling people what they have to do or telling people how to live their life.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's something you have to choose, and I'll definitely try to persuade you into making that choice to choose God.
That's right.
But a problem I see is, you can live your life. If you choose not to use God as his standard, that's fine. That's up to you. You can deal with the consequences.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem I see now is people trying to make me say,
Yeah.
It's
Like we said at the beginning, check yours at the door.
right. They try to make me say that their what I see as immoral behavior is
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
They
And-
try to make me call evil things good, I guess.
Yeah, well,
And I think that we ought to speak up when we see that something, even if it's a law and
Right.
it's immoral, we ought to say, we don't believe that this is in line with what God teaches.
Mhm.
But if that's what the law has, what we need to tell people is you don't have to violate your conscience,
Right.
of what's moral. Just because society says something's okay,
Right,
you
right.
can still stand against it. And
That's right.
and it sounded like you were referring
Well, I was
to the
gonna
passage
say,
in
I was gonna say
Isaiah.
Isaiah 5:20 says, "What sorrow for those who say that evil is good and good is evil, that dark is light and light is dark, that bitter is sweet and sweet is bitter."
Turn everything upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the problem.
I think we got a big push of that here,
Yeah.
of late.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm not in the business of telling anybody how to live, but
Yeah.
don't make me say your immoral behavior is right.
Mhm.
I guess that's the problem.
The bottom line is that just because society says something's okay, you got to check it out and see if God says it's okay.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've talked about that before. I mean, we can't outlaw all bad behavior.
No, and we shouldn't.
That's not the business of
Yeah.
the government, is to
Yeah.
outlaw all bad behavior.
Yeah.
Could you imagine a young person trying to navigate right now? I mean,
Yeah.
their thought of hope.
Yeah.
To me, right now, it all just goes to hopelessness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of this.
Well, I think in our culture, there are philosophies, I guess, that are underpinning this.
Mhm.
Worldviews.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
We talked about
yeah.
worldviews.
Yeah, I think that's right. Now, where are these coming from? That's sort of poison, I think, is how I refer to it.
Right.
Where are these philosophies coming from? Can we identify them?
Well, I think it goes back to what I was saying, just then, as a young person trying to navigate this. I mean, where if in a
Mhm.
world of that you would hope is hopeful,
Mhm.
I'm going to be educated. I'm going to school. I'm learning these things, and that's where I think right now you're seeing a huge part of that taking place. When I think a lot of it happened in this just general past election.
Well, and I think a lot of it, we talked about Isaiah 59. I think they as a country wanted to do sinful things.
Yeah.
And so they thought they could validate that if that was okay with society.
Mm-hmm.
If the nation accepted it,
Right.
and the mistake they were making was that Isaiah was telling them that God's not going to accept that,
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And,
Even if we're in higher learning, if we're in education, like you mentioned, that, we can have experts say that this is right and this is wrong, but
so if you were talking about where those philosophies come from today. Well, I think, one of the ones that I see that's so obvious is that, there's this philosophy that God didn't create, that we're just something that evolved from, some kind of ooze or something came from nothing. And so if you have that philosophy, abortion,
Right. What's the problem?
euthanasia.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, infanticide.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, what's the problem with that?
That's
Yeah.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think that's where it comes in. You know,
Mhm.
It's like lives are replaceable. No,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Well, I'm big on blaming things, but the religious community has some. We need to take our share of the blame
Sure.
too.
We need to
culpable.
speak up.
Yeah, culpable in
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
We haven't. Maybe we haven't stuck strong enough.
Well, you know, and I made that point last week. You know, I feel sometimes that we've been made to feel silent.
Yeah.
You know, through this process. You know, and it started. You know, it started a long time ago. But you know, at one point, I thought we actually were heading in the right direction. You know, there was a huge Christian movement. You know, within religion, but I think we sort of got scared off from it for a lot of variety of reasons. But
Well, I think if you want to look at our institutions in our educational system, you can see these philosophies being pushed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, if you want to look in religious institutions,
You can see it.
you can see philosophies that aren't in line with what God's word being pushed.
But I think it's more acceptable though in religion. I mean, in educational to push these things, and I think we've been made. You know, my point is, you know, we've been made to feel this way.
Yeah.
And if we don't go along with it, then you know what are the consequences? You know, as our institutions. You know, not only individually, but I think as a church, and I'll use that loosely, because you know I think we've had. You know, a recent, you know, statement was made that went along against something that God has already said, you know, is wrong.
Well, you know, even in we're talking about morality and, you know, these philosophies that poison God's morality and will change it, as Isaiah said, you know, changed it all around. You know, even in economic outlook, God gives a morality for, you know, he said that we have an obligation to work.
We do.
That we, you know, work and earn a living. He says we have an obligation to be benevolent toward those that are less fortunate.
That's right.
But I see a philosophy that's being pushed on as hard today is that, look, if you don't want to work, you shouldn't have to work, but you deserve a certain.
Yeah, at least you're entitled to.
You're entitled to certain things.
Yeah,
I see a philosophy on the other range there that says, look, it's all mine. I've made this, and I don't have any obligation to share it with anybody else.
Those are the two extremes.
Yeah, those are the two extremes. So, you know.
Yeah, and then, of course, in politics, there's plenty of poison philosophies there.
Everybody's got one there.
It just sort of takes all of those other three and just sort of blends it together, because you know that's where I think, you know, we're looking for the political to exercise that morality that comes down then to us.
Yeah.
Just in the last year or so, I've noticed a couple of large religious organizations, I guess you might call them, that, you know, we're waiting on pins and needles to see how they're going to come down on an issue. How are they going to decide whether, I don't know, same-sex marriage is going to be accepted or
things that God has spoken about.
I mean,
that's what I was making a reference to earlier.
Yeah.
You know?
What are we waiting on some convention somewhere to make a decision? We've got God's standard right here.
Yeah.
I don't know. Seems like learning is out. Social engineering is in.
Yeah.
History's out. Now we're into revisionist history.
Going to rewrite history.
Change
I
it.
don't know. And morality is just an individual thing. It's sort of whatever I feel is right or wrong. Well, it's just
situational ethics. Whatever, you know, I'm okay, you're okay, whatever.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to subscribe to our channel. Just click the subscribe button below. That way you'll know when we put out more content and videos like this one. Links to our audio podcast and to all of our social media accounts are also in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon on The Essential Truth.